Hi everybody, it's Kim from Fleece and Harmony, and this is episode 105 of the Fleece and Harmony Knitting and Crochet podcast. And you're watching it, if you're watching it the day that it's been released, on September 16th, 2022. So welcome to everybody that's been following me for a while, and hello to any new people that might have joined the podcast. And this week we're of course we're recording in the yarn shop that's in our woolen mill on our sheep farm in Belfast, Prince Edward Island, as usual. And we have a regular lineup for the podcast this week with the farm update. There's some progress to talk about in the works in progress, and we are going to do a segment for the Wallflower, and Betsy's going to join me to share some of her projects that she's been working on. We'll also have a shop update. The last episode I showed you part of the Rowan Fall selection, but there's still lots more, so we're going to go through some more pieces of that. It's going to be a fantastic season with Rowan, so we're going to go through that. We'll just give another little update about Arne and Carlos, who are coming to do an event at Fleece and Harmony, yay, and a Fibre Festival update, because we have some pretty important book launches that we're going to launch at the at the Fibre Festival, and we'll be hosting some book signings at our booth at the Fibre Festival, so we're going to do that. And in the Harmony part today, we're going to fly with the birds, so it's all about a bird theme. So we're going to start with birds on the farm, and last week actually, at the end of the week, we had some visitors to the farm, which were very interesting. So pileated woodpeckers are kind of rare in this area, so you don't see them very often, but I did spot one when I was doing the chores last Friday. And I could hear him. He was like pounding. So they're pretty big. They're like about this big, and they have this bright red cap. I have a picture, so I'll show you. And I've been using my Merlin app, which is a birding app that you can identify birds by their sounds. You can play sounds that have been recorded by different birds, and you can identify birds by pictures as well. So I've been taking that with me when I go out and do the morning chores. And I'm trying to be aware of the birds that I can hear around. And I've been seeing more birds than what I ever thought I would see, different types of birds around in the hedgerows in particular on the farm. But this day I saw a pileated woodpecker. So I tried to record his voice or her voice. I couldn't tell, even after I looked at the pictures, I couldn't tell if it was a female or a male. So I tried to record his voice, and I couldn't get a clear recording. So I decided I would try to play the call of the pileated woodpecker from the Merlin app and see what would happen if he would answer back. So I did play the call, and he didn't answer, but another one answered. Another pileated woodpecker was in our apple tree, which I didn't even see. So we actually had two of them on the farm. So I'm assuming that they're a pair, but I'm not sure if they stick together after they've mated or whatever. I'm not sure. But anyway, there was two of them. One was over next to where the horses were, and the other one was in an old apple tree that's at the corner of the house. So they were fairly close together. So I don't think they were like infringing on each other's territories. I think that they must have been a pair. Anyway, it's pretty cool to see the two of them, and I was pretty excited about it. So I never really considered myself a bird watcher, but I always like to see birds around the feeders and that kind of thing. And this is a big woodpecker. So we see downy woodpeckers and hairy woodpeckers around here quite often. But this is fairly big. In the Merlin app, they said that they're as big as a crow. I wouldn't say that this one was as big as some of the crows that we have around here, but it was pretty big. And when he was pecking on a dead spruce tree, and literally wood chips were flying around him. So he was going right to town on that tree. So it's a dead tree which we've left standing there, and of course they're getting bugs and things out of the dead trees. And where the other one was in the apple tree, the apple tree is probably 100 years old. there's a dead branch on the top of that, and he was in, or she was in that branch as well. So that was pretty cool. Everything else on the farm is going great. We actually have, it's hot today. I have the fan going again while I'm recording, and it's really dry. We need rain in a big way. The grass is all starting to dry out, and the leaves are falling from the trees, even though they're not falling yet because of fall, but they're drying out. So we need some rain on the farm. And although it's good, you don't have to mow because it's not really growing. And the sheep are all great, the rabbits are all great, and the horses are doing great. They're a little bit thankful because there are cooler nights, and so the flies are starting to dissipate a little bit so they won't be bothered by the flies as much. Our house renovation is going well. Still more demo. So I said in the last episode that I'm living in a wooden tent. Well, it's even more of a wooden tent now. There's not any pictures to show because they haven't started building back, but I think the trades start coming tomorrow. So plumbing and electrical is going to start to be reinstalled in the section where we demoed, and we'll make fairly quick progress after that on some of the things that we're doing. So that's exciting. And I actually got to order things like the lamp or the lights that I'm having in the kitchen, and we bought a bathtub today and things like that. So it is moving forward, but maybe the next time we record, I'll have a little bit some progress to show with pictures that we can share. So I think that's about it for the farm update, and I'm going to just mention tungsten again. The last time I didn't really show it because I was on the sleeves. I'm still on the sleeves, and but I brought the whole thing because in case people have joined that haven't seen the front and the back are done. I'm just going to show you where I am. I'm finished the increases on the sleeves. So I actually have, I did my sleeves 2 at a time. I'm really happy I did them 2 at a time because it would have been a long slog if I had to start doing another sleeve now. So they are longer, and I have actually 5 centimeters more to knit before I start to do the shaping. This sweater is a dropped shoulder design, so the sleeves don't go all the way up. I just have 5 centimeters more to go, and then the sleeves will be done, and then it just needs to be sewn together and the neck finished around the neck. So I'm going to show the other pieces, and so this is the back. So you just have this motif, the argyle motif on one side of the sweater, and the front looks the same basically, like this. So when it's together, it will be sewn together like this. Sorry, I'm fumbling around a little bit. So you have the front and the back. And then, like I said, it's a drop shoulder, so this will come down to here, and then the sleeves will join here, and then it's done. And I'm not going to say when it'll be done, but I'm hoping it's going to be soon because I really want to wear it. Actually, I was going to say I want to be done with this because I want to start working again on my cowl cardigan, but I actually really want to wear it. It would be great if I could wear it to the Fibre Festival, but we won't say anything about that. So that's getting there. And so that's the only work in progress really right now. I am going to show, I'm going to show a little bit of an FO. So I have a sock, and this is made out of the Rowan sock. So the Rowan new wool sock yarn is called Rowan sock, and this colorway is called Ocean, and you can see that it's a color changing yarn. So it kind of has stripes because the colors change in stripes, but it's not, I wouldn't really say that it was really striped because it's just a play all on blue in this case, and the other colors are all listed online. I'll probably show a little picture here, and I am going to put the name of this pattern. This pattern is out of the Rowan Sock Collection, which is the book that they launched with the sock yarn. And I sold out already, and I'm just waiting for my next order to come. So I think I'll put them in stock because they're coming. But if you do order them, understand that you might have to wait a few days longer for us to ship them out, because I don't actually have them in yet, but they're on their way. And the patterns are so cute. This was one of my favorites. I'll show a picture, like I said, because it's going to be really hard to see the detail. I don't think you are going to be able to see it if I hold it up. And the director in the back is saying, no, you can't see it, but it has a really, really sweet, this motif that's on the front is also a little triangle on the back of the sock. So it's really, really sweet. So it feels, this Jennifer Hicks knit this sock, and she knit it, she's got head gauge with the needle size that they recommended. And I can tell you that it's a very, it has a dense feel to it, so it feels really, really nice. And we talked about the fact that it was a single ply sock yarn, and some people were a little bit worried about that, if it would wear well. But I have to tell you, I think it feels like it's going to wear really well. It's very soft, but the texture of the knitting is very smooth and quite dense. So I think it's going to be a really nice, a nice sock yarn to use. And a lot of you have purchased it. I had to reorder sock yarn as well already. So I think it's going to be popular, and these patterns are really, really cute. So that's the Rowan sock yarn. So I'm considering that an FO, one sock. And it's a test knit for us because we wanted to see it knit up for sure. So the Rowan sock yarn looks like that, and we wanted to see how the stripes worked. So that's that. And that's all I'm going to talk about for works in progress. Of course, the cowl cardigan is still on hold because I am finishing the tungsten first. That's the only knitting that I'm doing right now. And I'm working on my wallflower blanket as well. So that is a good segue to go to the section with Betsy. So Betsy joined me to talk about our blankets, and she's got let's say it's a finished object. It's finished basically. And we're going to talk about some pattern instructions. So Rowan, anybody that's knit a few of Rowan's patterns knows that they kind of all follow the same kind of outline, the way that they're devised on the page. So there is a little bit of a tricky part with some of their patterns. It's when you're doing shaping, and they have different instructions for different sizes of the pattern, but they write it all in one sentence. So we're actually going to talk about that and break that down, because there was it was a bit of a confusing instruction, but it's not confusing when you know how to read it and you know the way that Rowan writes it. So we're going to talk about that at the end of the section with Betsy. So if you're interested in that, you can join us over there, and we'll look at Wallflowers and Betsy's projects, and then do a little bit of a pattern tutorial a little bit. So we'll see you over there. Hi, Betsy.
Hi, Kim.
I tried to be more deep this time, because usually I go, hi, Betsy. I tried to
startle everyone.
Yeah,
right. Startle them back to watching.
Yeah. How are you this week?
Good.
Good.
Good. Yeah.
Here we are, still with the fan.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's September, but it's still warm.
It's pretty warm, and the grass is all brown.
We need rain.
Yes.
Oh, my people, we need rain.
Yes.
Yes.
And the leaves are falling off the trees before they're even turning fall colors. Although I did see a tree that actually had fall colors on it yesterday. I panicked a little bit.
It's okay. It's all good. It's all good.
Just means the Fibre Festival is closer.
Speaking of which.
What?
Well, I mean, we were going to confess that we've been working hard, but maybe not on too many podcast things.
Yes, I'll do a proper introduction at the beginning before I show this.
Sounds good.
But there's every opportunity that you can make an excuse. We should make an excuse.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we've really been working hard, and our own personal crafting has suffered a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes, except you have managed to still crank out some things. So I'm very happy for you.
Okay.
Because I'm very happy for myself. So my measly little efforts are No, they don't show. So we still have lots to talk about.
Yes, we do. Yep.
And we have some interesting things to talk about, reading patterns that might be helpful for everybody too, because this was we had a little bit of a, every day's a school day.
Yeah, and I still am a relatively new knitter in terms of just the number of designers and pattern writers that I've tested out. Yeah. So I really only am like into my 4th or 5th type of pattern.
Right,
so,
and then you came to me for help. And then I didn't know what to do with either. So it's got nothing to do with being new or not. I think it's confusing, a confusing area of pattern writing, which is very common, but can be confusing depending on what size you're knitting.
Yeah.
So we're going to go over that in some detail because we think it's going to help everybody.
We hope it will.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So shall we do Wallflowers first? Or
sure.
Let's do that. So Betsy didn't bring her Wallflowers with her.
The whole thing. No.
Yeah, she just brought, because again, like we said last time, we're in production mode.
Yes.
Okay, so what do you have?
So I have I have moved kind of beyond the central focus point, which is what you see when we show what we call our garlands. That's kind of the central focus part of the blanket.
Which my garland still is not attached.
Yeah, so that as the full circle is kind of the middle. So I've moved into what are labeled background colors and pieces. So for me, because just to refresh your memory, Kim's goes from her lighter stuff and she will now move into her darker colors.
I'm almost finished with the light stuff.
Okay.
Like I'm doing production mode as well, so I've got bits and pieces that
me too.
That are light
bits and pieces.
And then I'm almost done with the light.
So hers will move as she moves out this way. Things will get darker.
Yes.
Her color scheme, where mine, I started with my dark colors in the center and I'm going to move out towards a lighter background.
Right.
So I'm headed into grays and blues. So this is the center of some of these flowers that we're doing, which we have done.
How many of these do you have to do?
14.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They take quite a long time.
They do.
Yeah.
I find this part, this central piece, I kind of split it in two. I think that's just because our lessons are split in two.
Right.
So I think of this as the first part. This I find goes quite quickly. And then this one takes a little longer. And I think it's just these like
double, treble.
Double. The British term is double, treble petals here that we're making. You're doing a lot of twisting.
And what is it in the U.S. term?
I would call that... Oh golly, you put me on the spot.
Okay.
I actually am no longer calling anything. I'm just like doing what I know I need to do. I've told my hands what it is and they've got it figured out.
Because you would use...
I learned US terms. Yeah.
So now I'm British.
Which is
because
fine.
I've just learned
British
crochet
terms.
using the British terms.
Which is great.
Yes. But I think it's one, well, when it gets to double trebles, I don't know. Because it would be one
actually for me, it's just called a treble. It's not a double treble.
Oh,
because they call a double
a single. A US single crochet is a double. In
there
UK.
are tons of conversion charts out there. Right. So if you really need to know, just Google a conversion chart. That's what I did to start. And then as soon as I had that kind of like in my brain for this project, I just know what this project's asking for.
That's right.
Yeah. And we've done these exact flowers before in different colors.
So
no, not this one.
Oh, do we?
You maybe haven't got to it yet.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. I think I'm one large flower ahead of you with this one.
Okay.
Yeah, because I have a large flower at home.
Another flower. You showed it on the last podcast.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
And it had pink in it, I think,
with this one, and I think it comes down to something about this particular color. I cannot get it to lie as flat as I have in the others. It's almost like it's stickier. So when I'm pulling through, my tension is different.
Is it aluminum?
It is indeed.
Yes.
What is with aluminum?
I'm using aluminum as well. It is actually thicker.
Is that what it is?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Because, well, here.
Well, yeah, I would agree because I have to fit.
It's cushier.
Yeah, I have to fit 12 double trebles into this petal. Right. And I've done it with the other colors and they fit no problem fairly easily. But this time I'm really having to like shift it over to make room.
So here is mine. So the yellow is mineral, which feels exactly like all the other felted tweed. And then this around these flowers is the aluminum, and you can definitely see that it's thicker.
It is a little bit thicker.
Yeah.
So Any ideas as a yarn maker why that might be?
So it could, I would imagine that the batches that they make when they're doing a color of felted tweed are humongous.
Right.
So
I'm sure.
there could be at some, and you're using yarn purchased in the same batches that I have. So we're using, even if the dye lots are not exactly the same, I'm assuming it's probably coming from the same batches of yarn itself.
Okay.
And I think it's just a little bit thicker.
Yeah.
But there are some dyes that make the yarn like behave a little bit differently.
Expand a bit more.
Well, I don't know. There's just some some dyes that we do here. The yarn just comes out with a slightly different texture.
So that's great to know. Just based on, I mean, we do, compared to Rowan, we do smaller batch stuff here.
Yes.
But even in like, I think, would you call Rowan like an industrial yarn or?
Well, commercial.
Kind of commercial, that's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm definitely, with your aluminum that you did mine, I'm noticing a little difference there. It's not, in the end, I'm not worried.
Well, plus it's going to be incorporated into the blanket.
And more goes on here to pull it all. Like, it'll be fine. I was just noticing it. I was like, why can I not get this one to fit as easy? And I think that's exactly
it. Yeah, it's
what
a little
it
bit
is.
thicker.
Yeah. So I've moved into grays. So I kind of like, in terms of creative and moving forward, I'm a little bit like, oh, it's not going to have quite as much like excitement to work with. But in the end, it'll be lovely because it'll be my pond surrounded by my stones and water.
So then when I start my dark stuff,
I know, I'm going to get jealous.
You're going to feel like I did when your colors, beautiful colors were popping and all those beautiful like pinks and whatever. And mine is going to start to go into purple
Okay.
So, I was always like, it's true. I mean, it's beautiful. They're both beautiful.
Yes.
So I'm being exaggerating a little bit. So don't feel bad for me. But I was like, oh, it's so muted.
I doubt anyone, based on outfits that Kim and I both wear on these shows, would call us folks who are drawn to neutral colors.
No.
So I think it's just that we both like working and expressing in vibrant color. That's all it is. Yeah.
So then, so I don't really have anything to show. So I'm glad that I was able to help you with my prop of my one garland that I still have.
But like you said, you're in production mode too.
But you see what's happening.
Flowers.
What's happening here is
just got a little pile over here.
Yeah,
that's why we're looking that
everything.
way.
But
I can help.
It's the same ones that I showed the last time because I just made more of them. So that's it.
Well, how many of these do we make?
This is it. This is all. I just have to put them in. And then this is all that I have to make for this.
Okay.
The other ones are made already.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I still have to finish. So these ones will have a blue section come out over that.
Around there yet too.
Around there.
Yeah.
But these take a little bit of time.
They do take time.
Because you're doing
you feel
12.
like you're whipping them out and then all of a sudden you get to these petals.
Yes. Yeah. And they're a little bit, there's a lot of stitches in them. 12 in one.
I was going to confess. So we're in a little, we're not going to say we're stressed, but we're in crunch time. We'll call it that for the festival. It's crunch mode. So what happens with me is when I get in crunch mode sort of for any area of my life, I tend to like start really categorizing the rest of things. So for me, it became like, oh, I'm so close to the end of a bunch of these projects. I'm now setting these really like distinct goals.
Oh, okay.
So for when we work on these, my rule is I cannot stop at night until I've completed X number that I decided for that night must be completed.
Okay. Very goal oriented.
And I have a couple of children who are at varying age levels in life. So this is how the TV works in our house. One gets it for the hour before she goes to bed to watch her shows, and then the older one is allowed to watch a slightly more advanced show. And then finally at some point my husband and I might be allowed to watch whatever the heck we want to.
Right.
So my rule is like this project for this show while I'm with this child, this project for this show while I'm with this child, and then by the time it gets to my husband, I'm practically falling asleep on the couch. So I know, poor guy. But that's kind of how I work.
I'm not that
Richard.
Structured, but at the same time, I really can't do it for hours on end.
Yeah.
Like my wrist starts to get sore, and I don't want to overwork my wrist.
No, I would agree. Actually, that is a good valid point. Sometimes I push it too far.
Oh, do you?
And then I end up with pain for a few weeks on end.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I don't want to do that.
No.
And, but it is really helping bagpiping thing because I have to listen to the music, and then I feel guilty on 2 counts if I'm not sitting. And it's perfect. Ken set up. So our house is a mess. So the few rooms that we have left that are somewhat civilized keep getting smaller because we have to keep moving more stuff in because they're moving out with the demo on the other side of the house.
Right.
So it keeps getting smaller and smaller. So finally, I had quite a big table that we bought like in Montreal at an auction or whatever in front of my living room window. So now we've moved the dining room table in front of the window and taken the big other high table out to, we have a container in our yard to take some of the excess stuff out, or else we wouldn't literally be able to move in there. And so Ken said, well, here, he said, we'll set this up and then you can have your workstation set up again.
There.
So he just did that like 4 or 5 days ago. Nice. And it makes a big difference when it's all set up.
It really does.
When you don't have to dig it out of a bag.
Pull it out every time. Yeah, I agree. Because like you said, you're passing by, you can just sit down. Oh, I'll just do like 1 petal or 2 petals.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's made a difference. So there was like a week and a half where not much got done. And then the TV is right there. So my dining room table is in my living room, which is now my craft table. And the TV has bagpipe music playing on it for 2 hours a day. So that's right.
There we go. You're keeping it all.
Try to keep going and just keep moving forward. Yeah. So that's where that goes.
Awesome.
But I'll show my tungsten. I'll do that in whips and rips. Yeah. But you have your other project.
I'm so close. I really did want to finish it for you folks, but like I said, I set out this little schedule, and it's been working for me. So this one should be done soon. So this is the fox sweater.
So the sweater is finished knitting.
The knitting is done.
Yeah.
It is made out of our Selkirk worsted that we have. So it is. It's a winter sweater. I was thinking, oh, it'll be so fun to wear at the festival. I should get it done. And then I realized there is no way I'm wearing that indoors in September at a nice, I'm sure, temperate hotel.
Right.
Maybe my house, which I keep quite chilly, but yeah, no.
It's beautiful.
So it just needs some glasses here on the fox. I did block it, which I had talked last time. I was worried about the yoke being too... my tension not quite right. I can still see I am not a color work perfect person. I still have areas where I can tell my floats were probably pulled a little too tight because I hard blocked this yoke.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I gave it a really good tug, which is okay. I said as long as the fox faces are nice and clear and defined, I'm okay with a bit of texture here.
Yeah.
And then, so the pattern does not call for you to change color at the bottom.
Okay.
But I'm someone who, I was getting really close to the one color being gone, and I thought, sure, I could come in and get another ball of it, or I knew I had this left over, so I like to use it up.
I thought that was how it was.
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
So
well,
both the collar and the, oh my gosh, what do you call that? The band around the bottom.
Yeah.
I put in the darker blue that I had.
Well, that looks perfect.
Forgetting color names.
So how did the yarn quantity work out? Were you just about right on, or do you have lots?
Yeah,
I would have. Like the orange, you probably have some left, or
yeah. Oh yes, I have lots of the orange left, and I have some of this, lots of this blue left. But I don't mind. I will use those in other projects. I just didn't want to go knowing I had enough.
Yeah,
of the dark one.
That's
I didn't want to go and get a new one. I thought it worked fine. So yeah.
And so the last time we talked about the fact that it went up a bit. So is it the right length?
Length will be fine. No problem.
You like the length?
I love the length.
Okay.
Yeah. I did what you said. I added an extra little bit on there. So it has room to bounce up. I won't worry about that at all. Yeah. It is a little bit snug on me all around, just how I wear clothing.
Right.
So I'm just, So I think it will be fine, because every sweater I've made, after I've worn it for a few times, it's relaxed too much.
Right.
So I'm hoping this one will relax to perfection.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because my goal was not to knit it too big.
And I still have to do
I
know it's our yarn, but it's a rustic wool, but it's silky.
It's rustic, but it's not itchy.
No.
Like it still has a real softness to it.
Yeah.
So we have a few other sweaters in our house made out of it. This is my first sweater.
Yeah.
But on occasion I've thrown on my husband's. I made him a jacket, and I'm sensitive on my neck.
Oh, are you?
That's where for me, sorry if I bump my mic, on my neck tends to be where I'm sensitive. So I find I can wear this fairly comfortably on my neck, and it doesn't bother.
It feels really nice.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can tell you smoked it. You soaked it. You soaked it in eucalypt.
Smoked the heck out of it.
Yeah, because it smells good.
Yes, I do. I love
delicious.
what did I use? Our
Eucalypt
jasmine.
Yeah. It smells delicious.
I love that. And I just dropped that into, and I did the like ice cold water.
Yeah.
No like warmth to it at all. Just let it soak for, it was probably by the time I came back to it, it's closer to an hour.
Right.
10 to 30 minutes. But
and then pinned it out.
Yeah. Actually, I didn't even pin the sleeves or the bottom.
Yeah.
Because you had talked about it relaxing widthwise. So I thought there's no reason then.
Yeah.
So I really just did the yoke and pinned it down.
Yeah.
And then it was a beautiful day and I went, oh, I could have this dry in a couple hours. So I threw it onto the tarp on the back of my pickup. Listen how country I sound. But
your rig. You're not quite there.
Oh, my rig.
On your rig.
On the back of my rig. And it really was. It dried up in like, with the sun on it, it was done in like 2 hours.
Yeah.
So,
good. Okay.
And I kind of, like when I soak, I take it and I put it in a towel and roll, and then I step on it.
Yeah, that's what I do too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And without trying to pull too much, because I don't want to misshape
Well, if you roll
things.
it like the jelly roll, then
it's okay.
you can just go.
Yeah. So I did that.
So this is you have to call your truck a rig.
A rig. That's the, like, even though it's just a pickup and there's no, like, I don't.
No, it's a rig.
Oh, because to me, a rig is like a big rig.
No, it's a rig.
That would be the transport trucks on the highway that you'd want to get out of your way.
Yeah, that's right. Usually that was
so I can call my little old pickup a rig.
You can call your car a rig if you want.
What?
Yeah, the fit can even be a rig.
This in our house, my husband drives the tiniest little Fit and I drive the truck.
Yeah.
Only with gas prices as they are, we all know they are, we've been traveling a lot more in the Fit.
Right.
And so I think it's hilarious because we have this very roomy, spacious truck and then we like cram all 4 of us and the dogs all into this little Fit. I call it Blip.
Blip.
It's its name. My truck is Chunk and the car is Blip.
Right. That's right. Suits them perfectly.
Anyway, we are totally off topic here.
But so people that are coming to the Fibre Festival and the way you use it, is that your rig over there?
Then you know.
Yeah.
Learning new island vernacular every day.
Not with a Western accent.
No.
Is that your
just
rig
your
over
rig?
there?
Yeah. Okay.
So there's that's your local.
There we go.
Your local.
So that's my Selkirk worsted.
There's a really funny. I have to say.
Sure.
I
Okay.
have to
Tell
say
me.
this because somebody in our household at one point actually drove the lawn tractor over to Cooper's store.
Across the highway?
Across the highway.
Oh my. Oh.
And then we went, and Ken's going behind the thing. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. And we went to Cooper's store, and we recognized our lawn tractor
sitting there.
Oh. So when we went in the store, we said, "Is that your rig over there?" It was the lawn tractor.
That's cute. I've seen folks traveling around on their 4-wheelers.
Yeah.
Definitely. I've heard the dirt bikes.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen anyone actually go to Cooper's with their lawnmower.
That's right. That's right. Anyway, it was a really funny story.
Before we get into our other one that's more detailed and teachy and technical, this is my little guy.
Okay.
So you may remember several weeks ago,
naked guy.
The naked fella, who's still naked. Actually, he's even more naked than he was last time.
Yes, so he's been dissected.
He went through major surgery, poor fella.
Reduction surgery.
So this was one of those projects that everyone else had gone to bed, and it was husband and my TV hour.
Right.
And I was looking at him. His arms were too long, and they were just too long.
Were they dragging on the ground?
Almost at his, like, past his knees. So it really made him look odd. So I went back to the pattern and I went, yes, indeed. I don't know why I crocheted 3 extra rounds on his arms than I should have. So I was staring at it and thinking, there's got to be a way to just snip in neatly, pull a few rounds out, and then kind of reattach and crochet. Crochet pulls out beautifully one direction.
Right.
It does not pull out beautifully going the opposite. So if you're trying to pull it out the opposite direction of what you stitched it, you're literally undoing
same as knitting, actually,
every
though.
knot. I don't know. I've never tried with knitting.
Yeah.
Okay.
We tried it.
Okay. So you're literally undoing every knot.
Picking it.
Yeah. No, it's not fun.
Yeah.
So I struggled with it for about 10 minutes, and then I thought, I'm just going to go for it. And I just chopped the arms off. But then I had these really ragged edges, and I was like, well, that's not going to work. I couldn't figure out how to neatly reattach them. I didn't want a seam. So the next solution was, well, I need to get rid of the torso, which was kind of crocheted in a tank top striped look. But the only way to get rid of the torso is his poor head had to come off. So all of a
One
sudden,
thing leads to the other.
yeah, so all of a sudden my husband looks over and he's like, oh, what have you done? And there's a head and 2 arms lying on the couch.
We have pictures.
And I've
We
completely...
have pictures of the crime scene.
We'll do it. And I've completely pulled out the torso.
Did you draw a little chalk?
Didn't, but I should have.
Yeah.
Oh, too bad. So his torso disappeared completely. And I was like, okay, so I've attached many heads, even though my preference is to crochet bottom up and like do a head. A lot of patterns will have you make a head separate and sew it on. I don't usually like to do that. Even if a pattern says it, I've done it enough that I will convert it.
Oh, okay.
But I thought, okay, this time I can do it. So I redid his torso, put his arms back on the way I was supposed to, and I attached the head. And I think I did a pretty good job.
You would never know.
Yeah,
he lost his head.
And I decided maybe he'll just wear a little scarf.
He doesn't look at all like Frankenstein.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
He does look a little worried.
I know. He needs his nose and his mouth.
But look at his eyebrows. He's very worried.
We're going.
No, she's going to be able to do it.
Oh, dear. He'll be all right. It's okay, buddy. We'll get you clothed. You'll be good to go. And then I was sharing with...
Nikki's going to see a Nikki band.
Nikki and her Nikes.
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting a little silly, folks.
Okay.
So, and I was telling Ken this afternoon that I put his hair in like 1 strand at a time.
Yeah.
So each time I pull him out, I go, is it enough? Do I need to do more?
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's one of those things, like all of a sudden he could have too much hair.
Right.
So for now he's kind of, and he just likes to wear it
swished over.
Yeah. So he will get clothed eventually.
So I just want to be clear. So you backed out to there.
Yep, pulled out to here.
And then just redid.
Yeah. So from the neck to here was removed completely.
So the arms that were there are gone.
Sorry, I was able to actually save the arms because I cut them off.
Yeah.
Cut them off. And because I'd put extra rows in, that was the mistake in the first place, I just pulled back. Oh, and the pattern itself has you. So what you do is you crochet up to where the bottom of the arms, basically the armpit would be.
Okay.
And then you attach them on that round by going around the outside of the arm, and so then you shape the shoulders from there.
Okay.
That's just how you do, and same with legs. So you make each individual leg, and then when you get to the round where you want to join them, you actually create a round.
Oh, okay.
And then they just
so
go
then it was
together.
It was. I'm not going to say it was easy to do, but it made sense.
It made sense, and the pattern actually, it was already how it was originally done. In the pattern.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So he's really cute.
Yeah, he's fun.
And he looks no worse for wear.
No.
It looks like nothing happened.
Major surgery.
It was all your imagination.
It's okay. We used what? No, we didn't. We just went for it.
Right.
Oh, I didn't. At least I shouldn't say like I didn't completely chop. I did knitting, crocheting, anything of that sort. You don't really ever want to completely cut because then you'll have all these dead ends, basically. It'll completely unravel. So you just snip one and then you
pull it out. Okay. Yeah. So he's back on track.
Back on track. All right.
So now we have one more thing. And this is the mineral project that's knit in cotton glacé from mode 6.
Mode 6. I think it's even in mineral color.
Yes.
Is that what it's called?
That's right.
Yes. So I started showing this one a while ago. And where I ran into trouble.
This is the back. And the front's already done.
Oops, this is the front. This is the front of the back.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so there's only the 2 pieces.
There's just the 2 pieces.
So you're just about done.
Yes, it is getting there. Yeah. Because the sleeves are just little like cap sleeves, so that's why they go out like that. Because this will just connect with the front, and that will create just a little cap sleeve on it.
Right.
So where I ran into trouble, I got to the point where I was supposed to start shaping for the sleeves, and I've never done a Rowan pattern before. As a matter of fact, I've never done a Europe. I can't say that. I've done a Norwegian pattern. Anyway, so they tend to be written very different than if you've done...
They're very succinct.
Yes. They keep things...
tight.
That's what succinct means. Yes. Why am I explaining succinct?
Yeah. Short and sweet.
Short and sweet. So I got to the instructions, and we'll post... Are you going to post them down below for what it said?
I'm just going to write the line that was giving you trouble. One line.
Yeah.
Which is it's written in a common way in a lot of patterns.
And that's why we want to show it because, so for my size, it told me to increase a certain amount But my size, no increases were happening. So there was just a semicolon there. So I didn't know what to do with a semicolon. So I thought, am I supposed to just knit a row and keep going straight and not do any increases? Do I just ignore this row? And then I sat down with Kim and we tried to figure out the stitch count, which we found our error there. The pattern is correct. I was just starting from a wrong point. So figuring out the stitch count wasn't working. So thankfully I was able to just send off an email to, I think Rowan has, it's like a support section on their website, sent off an email to them, and within a day or two I was able to, someone sent back and said, our technical team is working on it, they'll be right with you, and then within the next like 24 to 48 hours, I think it was a lovely Francine or Francis, anyway, wrote back, and what she did for me was basically what I needed. She wrote out line by, or row by row, exactly which row to increase on, because everything was short form and like, so they kind of, it's like people that have knit a lot of fitted sweaters and fit sleeves, sweaters that have fitted sleeves and stuff like that will have come across this, especially in the European patterns, because they don't tend to spoon feed anything. And so it would be, depending on your size, you would increase or decrease on every fourth row so many times. Following sixth rows, or then so and so on the, anyway, we'll write out an example of it. And if you don't, and not all the sizes have the rate of decreases or increases. So that's actually, we were chatting about this before we started to record, is that I think that people think that when you grade patterns, you just kind of like multiply it up.
Yes, but no, it doesn't, because you have to actually change the shape of the shaping you're doing.
Yes, exactly.
So it's just not like, okay, well, if I'm going up to bigger sizes, then I would just add 3 stitches here, and but it doesn't work like that. It's a skill to be able to grade a pattern so that it fits all the sizes the way that it should. So
in my size, increases were happening at a certain point that in another size,
there were none.
Or sorry, I wasn't increasing on mine at one point, but then I increased more at a later point than what the smaller size did.
I'll write out a little example so that you can see what we mean.
So it was just throwing me off at like where exactly I was supposed to increase and that sort of thing. I thought of, actually, I think it was Andrea from Fruity Knitting, her sister Fiona, when she made a sweater. I think it was the Kim Hargraves.
Probably.
She said,
I think she knit a few of them.
She took her pattern and she broke it down and wrote out like row by row the instructions. And I essentially did that, not for the whole pattern. She was very committed. I just did it for the one section. So I have on my pattern, I now have all written out like exactly what row, and then when I'm going through, I'll put a stroke the one way, and then when you have to repeat it on the other side, I put a stroke through the other way.
You have to do tricks like that.
I do that too.
I do that too. Like I just figure out how many, because it's kind of the same thing. You want to make sure that after you've done all those decreases that you've got the right amount.
And when you have to then go back and do, so you do it one sleeve at a time.
Right.
So I've done this. Well, I wanted it to make sure I matched exactly to this. Oh, and the other challenge was I'm also patterning.
Yes.
So I had to make sure that my pattern was going to match exactly, stay in pattern, which sounds simple. Oh, stay in pattern. Until you realize you're like doing 4 of this and then 2 of this and 2 of this and 3 of that and 4. And so there was a lot of numbers flying around. So I found once I just wrote it out and stroked off as I went. So thankfully I didn't have to do the whole pattern that way, but little sections of increases and decreases.
And it's and then if you put it down, that keeps track of where you are and everything too. So that's good. So now this will be finished fairly quickly, because you just have to pick up stitches around the neck and sew it up.
And well, no, I have to finish the other. This is the back. I do have to do. I do have to do this
like shaping on the back
for the front.
Yes. Okay.
So, which again, and also the other thing I was doing, I was knitting them 2 at a time. I was following your example, which was great and perfect.
Until you get to there.
And then I went, oh, I really need to take one off, set it aside, and focus just on the one.
Yes,
So,
yes.
yeah.
Because you'll be doing it like in the opposite direction.
Yeah,
Like they just say, do the same thing.
In reverse shaping.
Reverse shape, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I would do the same thing.
Same idea.
I wouldn't want to try to do them
that
two,
shaping two at the
like
same
two
time.
opposite shapings on the one
Side by
on the
side.
one row. Or
Not to
side by
mention
side.
what you'd end up with like 4 balls of yarn attached at one point.
No,
So yeah.
Yeah.
So that was
Good.
So it's coming along great. I'm really hoping I will like it. I do already know mentally I'm preparing myself. I will not look like the model when I put the shirt on. But that is just life.
Yeah.
So I'm
because your shoulders are a bit
because
broader.
my shoulders are broader than hers.
Yeah.
Let's just
so
be
your
honest.
sleeves will be a little shorter.
Yeah. I have to drive that rig.
Yeah. That's right. All right, good.
But I'm still liking it. I'm liking the stitch definition of this yarn is beautiful.
Yeah.
Your
knitting is very neat.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, the stitches are really even and nice.
I do have to concentrate a little bit more with the cotton to make sure I'm not changing my tension as I get tired. My hands are definitely working a little harder with cotton than they do with wool. And again, I continue to find it doesn't have as much squish, so I start to feel it on my fingers a bit.
On your fingers,
yeah. So I think I just all around to get a bit more.
There's quite a bit of knitting in that project.
Even though
it's just a little top,
yeah,
but there is quite a bit of knitting.
There is.
Yeah.
And just concentration because there's a pattern to it.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I'm liking the texture. I'm finding it more easy to follow than I was color work.
Right.
I was making way more errors in my color work than I am with this. And that's the other thing I was going to say. I like writing things out line by line so I know exactly what I'm doing, but I'm also trying to be like a grown-up knitter and read my knitting. I really want to be able to know, like to look back and know I increase at a certain point because I know where, like I can see the increase versus having to count exactly the number of rows.
That helps a lot.
Yeah, I do want to know how to read what I've done.
And we talked about this when we started crocheting because I couldn't even count the stitches. Then I couldn't, but now it's just now after all of this. I mean, I don't know how many balls of felted tweed I've gone through for the wallflower, but I finally just the other day I was like, I could just go back and I could read what I had done because I got interrupted partway through a petal or something and I wasn't sure where I was and I was like, oh, so and it's a learning process.
But I think it's an important skill to pursue because I think it makes when you have to fix a mistake, which at some point you are going to have to fix a mistake.
Yes.
I remember when I first started knitting, I don't know how many times I just completely ripped the scarf out that I was making because I just had no clue how to fix what I'd done until I finally went, okay, I'm never going to be able to knit something perfect from start to finish. So I really have to learn how to fix an error.
And that comes with time, like time and practice. So great. All right. Well, thanks, Betsy.
Thanks for having me again.
So I don't know what's going to happen the week of the Fibre Festival. Is that the podcast week? I think we're probably going to have to.
It is right after
another podcast.
We should
I'm
be
not sure if we're going to have
the Tuesday after the Fibre
Festival.
Okay.
All right, then we're good.
Yeah. No, it's not next week. So because next week is the week before the
exactly.
So the festival will be done.
Yes. All right. Good. Yeah. Maybe there'll be one that week.
Yeah, maybe
if we survive the festival. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Betsy.
Oh, I'm touching my microphone. My apologies.
Yeah,
I might have to edit that.
Yeah. All right. Bye. Okay. So, yeah, that was kind of a long explanation, but I think hopefully that makes it much more clear about how to read those instructions when you have to do when it says and following so many rows and when there's no instructions for your size that you're knitting, how you read that in the pattern. And it seems pretty simple, but it's often easy to get the stitch count off a little bit, but I hope that little discussion that we had helps you with that. So the shop update is next, and I am going to, we already talked about Rowan sock, and we talked about it in the last podcast, but this time I want to talk about the Rowan mode book. And as you know that I'm a big fan of these mode collections, and with this season we have the mode collection 7, and I have the book here. And for the first time, they're actually showing men's patterns in here in this book. So there's 16 patterns for women and men in the book. And again, it's just, I would knit almost everything that's in here. It's really, really beautiful. So we're going to do a slideshow for this, or I've done a slideshow, and we'll go to that next. Someone wrote in the comments asking if Rowan provides the slideshows, and they don't. They provide the photos, and I do the editing to edit the photos together and choose music to create the slideshows. So I hope you enjoy it. I think it's a good way to see if you're going to like the book or not. And so when I get to show all the patterns and you just have a preview of the book, you can be confident if you want to purchase it and if you would knit from it. So we're going to pop on over to the slideshow for Mode Collection 7.
이젠 더는 숨지 않아 너와 나는 느껴 나와 너 말이야 속삭이는 내 손악마 비밀의 악마 더는 듣지 않아 헤어지려 그만 좀 놔둬 나 그만하려는 거랬잖아 진실한 사람 누가 알겠어 그 사랑을 우리 보여주자 단 하나 너야 단지 너뿐이야 나 포기 못해 여기 진심뿐인 내 세상을 나 포기 못해 I want you 날 나를 데려가 I want you 다 필요 없어 I want you 난 진심뿐이야 I want you 그냥 you 행운이란 없던 내 살 그 속에 너란 빛이 비쳐 꿈같이 우린 웃음 속에 눈을 맞춰 새로 태어난 이 순간을 느껴 단 하나 너야 단지 너뿐이야 나 포기 못해 여기 진심뿐인 내 세상을 나 포기 못해 사랑 너와 나를 위해서야 Just 그들을 앞에 또 너와 나는 우리 지금 이 순간 함께 있어 무슨 말을 할까 이 기분을 말이야 그 어떤 순간도 내 감정을 바꿀 수 없어 단 하나 너야 단지 너뿐이야 나 포기 못해 여기 진심뿐인 내
So we're back. I hope you enjoyed that. It's really, like I said, it's really good to be able to see all the patterns one after another like that. And I can tell you there's some really great men's patterns in that book. So it's really good that that Mode is now going to give us some choices for the men in our lives as well. The next thing I wanted to show is that as of today, September 16th, if you're watching this when it first published, the new Laine magazine is released, and it's Laine number 15. And there's two versions of the magazine, and inside the covers, they're exactly the same, but there's a yellow copy which has a black and white picture on the front, and this is a limited edition and it's very, very limited. And then you have the orange copy, which is a full color photo on the front, and this will be the copy that we'll be able to reorder and so forth. But I do have copies of both of them in the shop, and like I said, they're exactly the same inside. It's just the covers that are different. And I also did a slideshow for this. So I am a big fan of Laine magazine. I like all of the books that they publish, and I just love their magazines. But they did go through a little bit of a period where I always used to say that I would knit every single project that was in the book, and they did go through a little bit of a period while I wasn't as excited about some of the patterns. But when I opened the box, these just arrived yesterday, and when I opened the box of this magazine and I looked through it, I was very excited because, again, there's not a pattern in here that I wouldn't knit for myself. There's really, really beautiful patterns and a wide variety of patterns in this book that are just lovely. So I've decided to do a slideshow for this that shows all, I think there's 12 patterns, so it shows all 12 patterns. And I also gave you a couple different views of the patterns. So we're going to pop over there to that slideshow, and you can take a look at that Laine slideshow for magazine number 15. Okay, so I told you it was awesome. It really is. It's really, really, really nice. And like I said, if you want, I've got a few copies of the yellow. So if you want to order the yellow, then you can get online and order that. But if when the yellow is sold out, or if you prefer to have the full color copy, I have the orange. So they're both listed there. And today's the launch for that. So this is going to be a great addition to your Laine collection if you have one, and it's a good time to start one if you don't have a Laine collection already. And I think while we're on the topic of books, I'm just going to keep going on the book subject. We're really, really privileged at the Fibre Festival that we're actually going to be launching 2 books that are coming on the market at the Fibre Festival. So it'll be the first time that they're actually shown in public, like it's at the launch date. And the first one is Knitting Bag of Tricks by Patty Lyons, and the second one is the Saltwater collection. It's a sock collection this time. So I don't know if they call it the Saltwater. I think they just call it the Saltwater books, and this is socks, because of course the first one was Saltwater Mittens, and then we were just referring them all to as Saltwater Mittens, Classics, and Gifts. But in fact, I think they're just saying the Saltwater collection now, because now they've got gifts and classics and mittens and socks. So Shirley and Christine, the Saltwater girls, are both going to be doing lectures at together at the Fibre Festival, and the book, the official first launch of their new book, is going to be there. And I don't even have a copy yet, so I can't show you anything other than the picture. And you can pre-order that book on our website, and we're holding all the orders until we get the books, and we'll pack them up. And we're going, if you're going to the Fibre Festival, you can order them for local pickup. And to do that, if you're an existing customer in our on our website, then you just have to make sure that you remove your shipping address from that order, and then you'll have an option to select local pickup. And you can pick up the book at the Fibre Festival. They'll be in the Fibre Festival office, and there will be a volunteer there that is going to get your book for you. So you have to sign the packing slip that you've received your book, so we can keep track and make sure everybody gets their books. But you can pick them up there. And Shirley and Christine are doing 2 lectures, and they may have a little bit of time to sign books at the end of their lectures, but they will also be at the booth, and I'll go through the full schedule when I do the Fibre Festival section of the podcast. They will be at the Fleece and Harmony booth signing books there for an hour as well during the day on Saturday. So that's the Saltwater Sock book, and we're really excited about that. It's going to be great. Then there's another book that's launching, and everybody is really excited about this next launch. And it is Patty Lyons has written a book called Knitting Bag of Tricks, and I have a copy because that is going to also be sold for the very first time at the PEI Fibre Festival. Again, you can order this online, and we will bring the books to the Fibre Festival if you've ordered it, so that you can get Patty to sign it. Patty is doing, I think she's doing 4 classes at the Fibre Festival, but she is also doing a book signing for a short period of time at our booth. But I have permission to read the very introduction of this book, so I'm going to read it to you now, because I think it just epitomizes the way that Patty writes and her style. And I think that if any of you read her blogs or her posts or anything, then you know that she's really, really humorous, and but very good at explaining the hows and whys of knitting and what can go wrong and why maybe it's not wrong. And so this is what the book looks like. And the first, I opened it up when we received it the other day, and the first thing that I saw was 3 fundamental truths for knitters. And I'm going to read them, the 3 of them, so it's going to be a few minutes that we're going to read, but I think that they're really, really good. So the fundamental truth number 1: every mistake in knitting is an advanced knitting technique you didn't mean to use at that particular time. When I was a new knitter, I used to think I made way too many mistakes. Now I understand that all those mistakes I made were just me being very advanced. Trying to knit rib, and I forgot to move my yarn into position before inserting my needle, and I made accidental yarn overs. Look at me, knitting lace. Those times I changed directions in the middle of a row, who knew I could short row? I wasn't missing a stitch and then accidentally working into the row below. I was doing brioche. The chances are that you are doing this too. Slow down. Before you rip out your mistakes, really look at them. Figure out why you did what you did. Consider if your way is better or if it can be used somewhere else in your knitting. Learn from your mistakes. You might find your mistakes lead you to a better way to build a mousetrap. I think we've all been there for fundamental 1. Fundamental truth number 2: there is a conspiracy of silence among knitters, and this is absolutely true. One of the hardest things for me when I first started knitting was getting used to the conspiracy of silence that I encountered. Knitters pretend certain things in knitting just work, or that they're easy to do, when sometimes neither is true. One day you believe that everyone but you can close that last short row in the round without creating a little gap, or bind off without a weird loop at the end, or knit a tiny swatch with a garter border and have it predict your gauge without making you want to stab needles in your project like it was voodoo, like a voodoo doll. They all just pretend that everything's fine. Nothing to see here, show's over, keep moving, when the truth is, it's not. The truth. Fundamental truth number 3. It's not you, it's them. That's right. 99% of the time, it's not your fault. It's the stitch's fault. Often there's something about the stitch's anatomy that causes the problem, but no one has ever explained that to you. See conspiracy of silence above. The pattern tells you to bind off loosely. The pattern doesn't tell you why that's harder than it sounds or why you're being set up to fail. Instead, you try to bind off loosely and can't do it. Then blame yourself for not being a good enough knitter. That's where this book comes in. We will break knitting techniques down and bust some myths, always exploring not only the why of knitting, but also the why not. So grab some yarn and needles, pour yourself a favorite beverage, and let's play with our knitting. So I think that's just a great introduction to the way that Patty thinks about knitting and the way that she can help all knitters. And I just think that this book is going to be a classic in everybody's knitting library. And she has great illustrations inside to demonstrate the different techniques and pictures where needed. And it's just going to be a great book. So you can order this right now on our website. It won't ship out until after the Fibre Festival, but people that are at the Fibre Festival and want to pick up their book there can have an advanced copy so that Patty can sign it while she's here on Prince Edward Island. So that's a great book. So, and I'm happy that I was able to read that section, because when I read it, I was like, yes, yes, yes. That's all how we've all felt. So that is the book part of the shop update. And then at the same time that Rowan was creating a fantastic magazines number 72 and doing the mode collection at Rowan and doing a beautiful job of that, and the other books, the sock book, and there's a kid classic book, they also decided to expand the colors. So last time I told you about Kid Silkays and how they've now expanded to 81 colors. They've also expanded the range of shades in Kid Classic. And I'm really happy. You know that I'm a fan of Kid Classic. I'm knitting the cowl cardigan with Kid Classic, and it's just a super yarn. It knits up fairly quickly because it's a little bit thicker than a DK weight, and it's just a beautiful squishy yarn. And the colors they had great colors. I'm knitting my cowl cardigan in cherry red, so that's a fantastic color, but a lot of the colors were fairly muted. But they've launched, I'm just looking, 6, 12, 13 new colors. And this is just a selection of some of the colors that they launched. So they're just vibrant and beautiful. And they're up on the website right now. You can purchase them. And I would encourage you to check it out, because the colors are just lovely and bright. And they've just made a great addition to this classic yarn. So that's Rowan Kid Classic. As far as the rest of the shop updates, we're making yarn like crazy for the Fibre Festival, so we haven't had time to do any new colorways or anything for the shop. So there's not a lot for me to talk about in our own shop, in our own yarn. But as I said, we have like tons of new things with Rowan, and I still haven't showed them all. And I will show more on the next podcast. And for people that are coming to the Fibre Festival, I'm actually bringing Kid Silkays and Felted Tweed with me. And if you wanted to order Rowan and pick it up at the Fibre Festival, and it's not Kid Silkays or Felted Tweed, because those are the only two brands that I'm bringing for Rowan, you can do the same thing as what I suggested for the book. So you can place an order online and just take off your shipping address and select local pickup, and then just send me a note that you want to pick it up at the Fibre Festival, and we'll bring it there for you. So if you want to order Kid Classic, or you want to order any of the other great yarns that Rowan has and you want to pick them up there, I'm happy to bring them to the Fibre Festival for you. Now I want to just make a brief comment about Arne Carlos, because it's almost sold out. The only tickets we really have left are the ones for the Primrose Crochet throw. So if you're interested in crochet and you want to meet Arne Carlos, then you can still book. There's a few seats left in the Primrose Crochet workshop. I had to add more spaces to the Sit and Knit a bit live, so I have done that. So if you want to just join us for that evening, so that is the Thursday evening, and that's the 29th of November, and you can join us for that. And if you are interested in doing a workshop with Arne and Carlos, then there's the crochet one left. There might be 1 or 2 spaces left in the stranded color work, but they may be sold out by the time you see this. So, but you can check on the website. I am still keeping a waiting list for the knit and purl like a Norwegian and the layered color work, in case you want to put your name on the waiting list. And for the knit and purl one, I've had a waiting list almost from the first week, and I have been able to accommodate some of the people that have been there. So there has been some people from the waiting list that were able to get tickets. Again, that's at the Holman Grand Hotel. I don't have room in my shop to host an event like that, so that's why we've gone to the Holman Grand Hotel in downtown Charlottetown. It's going to be a great venue, and it's close to everything. Charlottetown is a fairly small city core, so it's lots of restaurants and things to do around the hotel as well, so and all within walking distance, so it should be a great time. I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be great to have Arne and Carlos here. So as I promised, I'm going to just go over my Fibre Festival brief. This time is about the book signings, and I'm going to go over the schedule for the book signings that will happen at the booth. So the people that are signing books are also teaching workshops or lectures, so you can perhaps bring one of their books to the workshop or lecture to have them signed as well. But at the booth on Saturday, the book signing starts at 9:30 in the morning with Shirley Payton. And Shirley has 2 beautiful books. The first one is the Knitwear Design Workshop. And this book is a great reference for anybody that thinks that they might want to design their own patterns. I took her class on Craftsy, which is sort of like this book. And I didn't do it because I wanted to design patterns. I don't really have a desire to design patterns, but I wanted to learn more about designing patterns so that I could make adaptations to patterns that I was knitting. And you can totally do that with this book. So Shirley goes into a lot of detail about the different structures of garments and sweaters, and the way knitting goes together in a pattern. And if you wanted a really good reference on that, or if you are a budding pattern designer, this is a great reference. So I have these in the shop, and Shirley will be doing a book signing, like as I said. So if you wanted a copy of the Knitwear Design Workshop, Shirley will be there and happy to sign that for you. I also have her second book, which is called Duets and Inspirations. And this was a concept that was based around kind of a design along project that Shirley did. So she had an inspiration of either a stitch or a garment from the past maybe, and then designers designed their interpretation of garments using that design pattern and the stitch guide. So they came up with some really lovely designs. And Shirley's style is it's not, I wouldn't describe it as a casual style. It's fitted garments, but if you want to be a knitter that knits something that people would know that was hand done and just exquisite in the tailoring and everything, then Shirley Payton is the resource for that, because her patterns are just beautifully done, and the design is, once you had it knit, you would not know that it was a hand knitted garment. So it's just gorgeous. So this is the book, the Knitwear Workshop Design, because it's easy to get the two of them mixed up, Duets and Inspirations. So I have this book in the shop as well, and Shirley will be happy to sign it for you at the Fibre Festival. So that's on Saturday morning from 9:30 to 10 at the Fleece and Harmony booth, and we have a special section for book signings and the book sales at the booth. It's booth number 3. I have booth number 1, 2, and 3, and 3 is dedicated to the book sales. At 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock, the Saltwater girls are going to be at the booth signing their book. So you can buy the books there too, by the way. You don't have to buy them in advance. So you can buy the books there. And Shirley and Christine will be at our booth from 12 to 1 on Saturday. From 1:30 to 12:15, Kristen Drysdale will be there. And Kristen, of course, is the author of the Nordic Knitting Primer book. And this has already gone into its second printing. I have copies left that I will be bringing to the Fibre Festival, but a lot of you have already bought it, and you can bring your copies to be signed. Kristen is also doing 4 classes, as I said, but she will be at the booth from 1:30 to 2:15 in between her classes to sign books for you if you have them, and you can buy them at the booth again, as I said. And finally, Patty will be at the booth between 4:30 and 5 to sign her book, The Knitting Bag of Tricks. And so we're gonna have a full day at the book signing, so that's gonna be fun. And I think that's all I have today. I'm not doing a list of 5 because, to be honest, I didn't have time to sit and do the research for it. So I'm going to skip that for this episode, and I may have to skip it the next episode because we'll be recording right after the Fibre Festival. So we may go for 2 episodes without the list of 5, but we'll get back to that after everything's settled down a little bit. So we're going to go right to the harmony part, and this harmony part, because we started with birds, we're going to end with birds. Sometimes here, seagulls, of course, are by the ocean, and Prince Edward Island is surrounded with ocean. You don't have to go very far to hit the ocean anywhere on PEI. And but sometimes what happens is when the farmers have started to do their harvest and they're re-digging their fields and everything, the seagulls will come inland and they go on the fields and they clean up all of the bugs and things that are in our nutrient-rich soil. And so Ken was out one day and they were flying around and they were quite close to the farm. So he was able to take record some video of all the seagulls flying, and I put that to music. And I hope you enjoy watching birds fly in a brilliant blue sky that there was that day. And I hope that you find this enjoyable. So have a great 2 weeks, and may all your crafting bring you pleasure, whatever it is that you do with your hands and crafting. And we'll see some of you at the Fibre Festival. It'll be really exciting to see you. And for the rest of you, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you liked it, give us a thumbs up. If you want to be notified when a new podcast comes up, you can select notifications and subscribe. And if you are so inclined, it would be also great if you could share the podcast with your friends, knitter friends or crochet friends, and as well. So without further ado, we'll go to the harmony part. Enjoy this few minutes of peace and relaxation, and have a great 2 weeks, everybody. Bye.